The city was drowning in the night. The dim glow of streetlights flickered on the wet pavement, and the rhythmic tapping of the rain echoed somewhere in the distance. Daniel pushed open the heavy door of his apartment. His cold hands retreated into his pockets, but the exhaustion clinging to his shoulders refused to let go. He stepped inside without even bothering to take off his shoes. Closing the door behind him, the room was silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence. The kind that smelled of emptiness, that pulled you inward like a void. He dropped his bag carelessly to the floor. He didn't want to think, but his thoughts followed him like shadows in the dimly lit room. Today had been bad. Very bad. A mistake at work. The crushing weight of responsibilities. The piercing disappointment in his boss's eyes. And worst of all, the cold war with an old friend that had been dragging on for days. Daniel picked up his phone. Unread messages still glowed on the screen. He took a deep breath, but instead of relief, it only left more weight in his chest. Finally, he simply set the phone down and collapsed onto the couch, letting his head fall back. He felt lost, and in the midst of that feeling, a pair of golden eyes watched him. In the corner of the room, almost invisible within the shadows, a small figure was watching Daniel. Luna. Her soft gray fur barely moved with each breath. She was still, but her golden eyes, they were deep knowing. She could feel everything. Luna stretched gracefully. Her tiny paws adjusted beneath her, and she took a few silent steps forward. Daniel turned his head slightly, noticing her approach but saying nothing. Luna, without hesitation, leaped onto the couch, and then, without seeking permission, she curled up in his lap. Her warm, soft fur spread across him like a gentle blanket. Her tail flicked slightly, but she made no sound. She didn't ask for attention. She was simply there. And that, more than anything, was what Daniel needed. Daniel slowly ran his fingers through Luna's fur. The rhythmic motion of stroking her back brought a rare stillness to his mind. And then suddenly, he realized something. Luna didn't take anything too seriously. In a cat's world, there was no regret. No anxiety about tomorrow. No dwelling on the past. What did a cat do when it was sad? It sat by a window and soaked in the sunlight. What did it do when it was angry? It climbed to a high place, burned off energy. When it didn't want something, it simply closed its eyes. It neither ran away nor stayed to please anyone. And when the world overwhelmed it, it simply licked its fur and took care of itself. At that moment, Daniel's thoughts drifted to Stoic philosophers. When life became overwhelming, he often turned to Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca for guidance. And now he realized cats were natural Stoics. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." A cat doesn't sulk when its food bowl is empty. It simply waits or finds another way, Marcus Aurelius wrote. Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs? Cats never resist nature. They adapt. They don't fight the uncontrollable. Seneca taught, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Give a cat an empty box, and it will turn it into a world of its own. Daniel thought about his own life. What did he do when he was sad? He replayed his mistakes over and over. What did he do when he was angry? He drafted long, frustrated messages that he would never send. What did he do when he was exhausted? He stayed up late, staring at screens, drowning in thoughts. But Luna simply lived. And maybe that was the secret to happiness. Daniel exhaled deeply. His fingers continued gliding through Luna's fur, and she purred softly in response. That simple, soothing sound. Tonight, he would sleep without checking his phone. Tomorrow, he would wake up without rushing. And for once, instead of fighting everything, he would just step back. Because maybe the secret to happiness wasn't about control. Maybe it was about letting things be, just as the Stoics said. You cannot control the world. You can only control yourself. Luna shifted slightly, lifting a small paw and pressing it against Daniel's hand, as if to say, "Now you understand." Daniel smiled. Maybe, just maybe, he did.